So in today's lesson, we're going to learn a little bit about two men named Lewis and Clark. Meriwether Lewis was Lewis's first name, and William was Clark's first name. You may have heard about them in 4th grade. What you will learn today is about their expedition that happened between the years 1804 and 1806, and how it was approved by President Thomas Jefferson. And it was quite a big deal during that time because they were able to take horses and carriages, as well as a variety of different adventuremen and tools, different inventions that had been created during that time, and moved from the East Coast, where they were comfortable and knew the area well, to the West Coast, which was full of unknown. Now, some things I want you to take into consideration as you are reading about Lewis and Clark expedition are the following 2 questions. I want you to be able to list 5 places along the route that Lewis and Clark traveled to, and after we're done learning about Lewis and Clark, hopefully you'll be able to draw a visual showing Sacagawea's role in the expedition. Some of you may have heard of Sacagawea before, and some of you may have not, but hopefully by the end of this lesson you'll know exactly who she is. You can pronounce her name either Sacagawea or Sacagawea, depending on what video or what reading you're doing. So I'm going to be pronouncing her name Sacagawea just for this, the purpose of this webinar. So, to continue on, we had learned briefly about the Louisiana Purchase, and President Jefferson had made plans for an expedition to explore the huge territory where Lewis and Clark were going to be headed. Now, as you can see, the blue highlighting of the word expedition shows us that it's a vocab word. So if I click on it, you will notice that an expedition, as many of you probably know, is a group of people sent to explore unknown places. Now, it was a huge territory that they were getting ready to explore. It was in the west coast of the United States, much of which was not established. It wasn't colonized. It wasn't a familiar territory to many people at all, except for Native Americans. And 2 former soldiers, as I had previously mentioned, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, were going to lead this group out into the west. They would map the Louisiana Territory, which is obviously territory located where Louisiana currently is, and they would look for a Northwest Passage. Basically, a Northwest Passage is a trail or an area that they're going to use to get from where they are to where they're going, which in this case is the Pacific Ocean. Thomas Jefferson asked them to take notes on soil, plants, animals, and the American tribes that they came across in their travels. So essentially, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were there to keep journals. Each one of them had a specialization or something that they were really good at. So one would focus on plants and animals, whereas the other one would be very good at map skills or making friends with Native Americans. So on their journey, they also wanted the explorers to keep scout locations for trading posts and settlements. You may have played the game Oregon Trail before or heard about westward expansion. And basically, Thomas Jefferson's hope was, as he continued to hire people and create adventures that would go out west, that people would become more familiar with the area so they could set up trading posts in areas where people could trade things like furs and animals and food, wheels, axles, things that people needed who are on an adventure. And also started to establish locations farther west than they were used to during the early 1800s.